You've been a lifelong fan of Manchester United, one of the clubs involved, Chris. I mean, how do you feel about it personally when you read about the news and you've spoken about being very angry today? Can you kind of put those thoughts and feelings into words?
Fundamentally, I am a traditionalist, and again, going over old ground, and I appreciate we're off script and we want to offer different views, and we're going to do that over the course of the next 45 minutes. My own feeling in this, and I've seen a lot written, and I've listened to a lot of people today, a lot of people saying it's a bit rich of the Premier League turning around, because of course the Premier League extricated itself away from the FA in 1992 to set up the Premier League. The one thing with all of this, though, that I keep coming back to is, despite the fact that we're talking crumbs, there is still meritocracy in football. Leicester City still won the Premier League in 2016, despite the fact that we know money flows to the top end. Man United's, your Chelsea's, your Man City, whether it's your oligarchs, whether it's your royal families, whether it's the Glazer family, American families, billionaires coming in and purchasing the football clubs, there is still in my heart of hearts, there's still a romance of football where a team can still dream of climbing their respective Everests in their respective countries. Leicester City proved that in 2016. Where it really sticks in my throat with all of this is we're talking of a closed shop, Robert. It doesn't matter what Man United or Arsenal. It's greed. You're lining the pockets of the owners, because it doesn't matter what you do on the field in terms of success, winning football matches. It doesn't even matter what you do off the field in getting your house in order and ensuring that there's a plan to be successful, because you know what? Next year, you're going to be in the European Super League once more. What happens to your Leicesters? What happens to your West Hams? Your Wigan Athletics, who won the FA Cup a few years back? Your Portsmouth, your Wolfsburgs in Germany, I'll go back to 2009. That doesn't matter. And despite the fact, and I get what you're going to say, Rob, despite the fact that that little window has narrowed, there is still huge money that swims upwards. There is still that little crumb where a Leicester City can go on and win a Premier League and bloody the nose of the big clubs. It doesn't happen.
It is a very small crumb. And I know that was one of the most extraordinary, if not the most extraordinary sporting stories of all time. But what is that phrase, that saying? If you invite a wolf to dinner, don't be surprised if they eat all the dinner guests.
And that is what a lot of people are pointing out.
That is what football have done. I mean, football has been endemically corrupt for an awfully long time now. It sold its soul many decades ago. The game, the global game, the beautiful game, was sold out to money. Manchester United farming their wares across the globe, trying to get in sponsors from random companies, tire companies. No, but I'm just saying that the game of football, whether it be agents making absurd amounts of money like Mino Raiola, whether it be footballers getting signed by clubs for £200 million in excess of, whether it be the already existing closed shop. And I mean, I do tend to agree with you, by the way. I'm somewhat playing devil's advocate here, but essentially, if you take Leicester aside, you've got to go back to Blackburn to get the last team outside of this top six, this big six, and Spurs don't even count because they haven't won the league. So it's really 5 clubs that have been dominating the Premier League. Blackburn used Jack Walker's money to buy the league. Leicester were a complete one-off. We all accept that. They were somewhat of an aberration. Sure, it was a great story. It was a fantastic story, but the point remains that they stand alone as a beacon of romanticism in an otherwise dominated landscape by clubs that continue to get richer. In the German Bundesliga, founded 57 years ago, Bayern Munich have won over half the titles. They've won 29. Dortmund and Mönchengladbach have won 5 apiece. 24 titles adrift. Bayern have won the last 8 Bundesliga. This trend is only going one way. The rich are only getting richer. It's the Jeff Bezos effect. It's this pandemic coming and his wealth just explodes while everyone else gets poorer. And that's what's happening in football. PSG, now they're somewhat arrivistes, aren't they? They're nouveau riche. They've won 7 of the last 8 Liga 1 titles since they came into absurd foreign wealth. Only Monaco have upset that dominance in 16-17. In Spain, 60 of the 89 La Liga titles. I didn't know any of this. I just looked it up today just to get a kind of a handle on where things were. Madrid have 34, Barca have 26, Atletico are on 10, and the last time any of those sides won, Atletico Bilbao incidentally have 8, but their last title was in 83-84. Right. Since 2000, only 3 La Liga titles have not been won by either Real or Barca. So where is the competitiveness really? Where is this beautiful romanticism that we speak of? It's gone decades ago.
But equally, there is, I come back to it, the crumb may be a small one, but I look at Sevilla this season, Rob. Sevilla are only 6 points off the top. Julian Lopetegui's done a wonderful job. Who's top of France right now? It's Lille. A point clear with 5 games to go in France. The point is, these clubs with correct management, money doesn't make necessarily the world go round. We look at what Man United have done. They've squandered millions, hundreds of millions. You look at Arsenal.
And they should have been buried, but they haven't been. Man United should have plummeted, and money has kept them up.
They've not won a league title since 2013.
They haven't.
Man United have had an absolute torrid. Look at Leicester. They finished 5th last season. They're 3rd right now. If we're talking about, that's because they've got a plan off the field. And Brendan Rodgers, you know my thoughts on Brendan. I think he's a top coach. He's improved the football players. Arsenal are in 9th. The malaise set in there. Man United, okay, they've been fortunate this season. They've done well. Ollie's made a little bit of progress. They've still not won anything under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. This is protecting the big clubs, Rob. This is essentially saying to your Glazers, to your Cronkies, to your Agnellis, you know what, you go in there, you'll get paid obscene monies to line your own pockets. And it's the fans that will lose out ultimately, because what is the need to invest in your squad when you know fine well you're going to be in the European Super League next year, and the year after that, and the year after that, as founding fathers or founding figures or founding clubs of this league? It's a nonsense.
Just had a message in from Kalik to say the gentleman spoke well. His arguments are not emotional. This is the reality. Accept it or find a new sport.
No, I don't want to find a new sport, Kalik. I've invested too much time and effort and money.
You're talking about a lifetime of blood, sweat and tears that's been poured into watching football for Chris McCarty.
I cannot give up on it.
Who poured a lot of energy into playing the game at an extremely high level, is joining us now.
Not me. That isn't me. It's the other Robbie. It is Liverpool legend, former Man City lead striker as well, a man who you've been hearing his dulcet tones an awful lot of over the course of the last 13, 14 weeks on Dubai 103.8. It is our good mate. It is Robbie Fowler, who joins us live on the line. I think he's taking his boy to football practice this evening. He has joined us from the UK. Afternoon or evening to you, Robbie.
Well, good evening to you, fellas. How are you? Okay?
Yeah, well, we're not bad. We're still reeling somewhat. I mean, I've just been pacing up and down. I'm a stressed head this afternoon with this news, and I just want to get your thoughts, Rob, in terms of a man who's played the game at the highest level, one of the Premier League's greatest ever strikers. The idea of a European Super League, does it stick on the throat, or can you actually get on board with it?
You know what, Chris? Look, I mean, I understand the concept, yes, of course, but I mean, I don't see what is this different to the Champions League? You know, so we have something that is there already and something that works already. So all of a sudden, it just stinks of clubs wanting it to be a little bit greedier and trying to jump on board with something to get more out of everyone else. I mean, I don't like it. You know, there's uproar in this country over what's happening. You know, we've spoke for almost a year now about saying how important the fans are. You know, we've been playing football games in stadiums and no fans, and we've all missed them. Now, as soon as something like this happens, and all of a sudden you've got a little bit of a divide with the fans and the club straight away. So it's unruly. It's wrong. It really is. I understand football is a business. We all know that. But look, you know, this can't happen. I know clubs have signed, or it looks signed, so it does look as though it's going to go ahead. But I'm sure there's going to be loads of repercussions down the line in terms of, I mean, infrastructure of football clubs, you know, local FAs, whether they'll allow them to. You know, the clubs are coming out saying it's for the long term or longevity of looking after, you know, the football pyramids, etc. I think that's just a little bit of an excuse or a little bit of a reason why they want to do it. I mean, the relevant FAs from the clubs who are involved, are they going to say to them, look, we know that you want to go in this competition, but you also have a team in the domestic league? Surely that can't happen. Surely the relevant FAs just turn around and say, well, look, if you want to go in that league, you go in that league. Yeah. But you know what?
Call their bluff.
This is not happening. You know, you want to go in domestic, you know, cup competitions or, you know, leagues in this one, you know, it's not happening. In terms of the infrastructure of how that's all going to be, I mean, what's going to happen with this European Super League? Is it going to be, you know, you'll have a 25-man squad here and a different 25 squad for the Premier League? You know, I mean, there's so much to sort of to digest.
Yeah.
I think it's actually quite frightening. I mean, the fact is that, you know, we talk about the development of the game. Now, what happens to academies who've spent, you know, millions and millions, ploughed money into into these academies, trying to get players to come in through the first year. And all of a sudden, there's not really that pathway that we've all cried out for years. That potentially could go out the window as well.
Robbie, have we been sort of as a sort of football loving community kind of sleepwalking towards this kind of inevitable moment for a long time? Because if you sort of think back of all the kind of major milestones of football kind of selling itself in kind of bits and pieces over the years, foundation of the Premier League would obviously have been a dramatic impact over in the UK, and then these wealthy oligarch owners coming in, Abramovich buying Chelsea, obviously with Manchester City, with Paris Saint-Germain as well, and agents making crazy money, players being sold for crazy fees, this whole kind of sanitized post-COVID kind of world in which we just got duped into thinking fans were in the stadium. Yeah. They just injected some fake noise, and the whole thing has just got this fakeness about it. Do you feel like this is a progression, that football's been on this path for a long time, or is this like an ambush where actually it should make us come to our senses and find a way to kind of dial back the clock, if that's possible?
Yeah, I think it's been coming for a long, long time, hasn't it? You've just mentioned all the all the reasons why. I mean, also think about the Premier League. The Premier League is, it's what happened certainly in this country. We had divisions, and all of a sudden the Premier League came in, and then all of a sudden the money became extravagant in this country's quite frightening. I mean, you think of like Europa League, you think of UEFA Cups, you think of the Nations League, you think of more teams going into the World Cup. So it has been coming for a while. I mean, I actually don't know the answer, and I think you should always try and progress anyway as as a sport. But I mean, there's certainly different ways, and probably I think better ways to progress. And for me, this is not the answer, because you're taking away something that, I mean, you're taking maybe centuries of traditions away from clubs who all of a sudden have a divine right to go and get in this competition. It's wrong. You got to earn the right to get in competitions, or in World Cups, in Champions Leagues, in all these competitions. But this one's not. This is like, listen, you're a powerful club. You can come in if you want. I mean, I've seen reports today, and all the different types of teams that are going in. I mean, Tottenham, for example, and no disrespect to Tottenham. Obviously they're seen now as one of the powerhouses, if you like, of British football. But someone had actually put out a tweet today, which is it's like akin the Avengers getting on a phone call to Banana Man asking them to do. And I mean, that's obviously no disrespect to Tottenham, but you can obviously see where I'm coming from.
Yeah. That's brilliant.
And Robbie, just quickly, obviously Gary Neville spoke very passionately and very, very eloquently on the subject yesterday for Sky Sports, when he was talking in particular his disappointment in both Manchester United, his team, and Liverpool as well, because they are the traditional powerhouses of English football, and they purport to be clubs for the people as well. Did you feel a tinge of disappointment that Liverpool were involved in all of this?
Yeah, no, I do. I mean, Liverpool are well documented as being a well-run family club, but it seems to me as though they want to be a family club when it suits them.
Yeah. Yeah,
and I don't. That's the best thing. That's the best analogy I can probably give you.
Yeah, I can't disagree.
It's not about. It's not about the club. It's not always about the club. We see football with our fans as nothing. Now all the fans have come out and been uproar. And this is a chance for maybe lots of clubs to come out and try and right what's been wrong. We all feel it's wrong, and clubs now have a chance of maybe trying to get a foothold in terms of fan ownership, if you like. Not saying fans can come in and buy clubs, but what I'm saying is you get fans who come in and probably really appeal to what the clubs are all about. And at the minute you start doing all of this. With what's happening, then the football clubs are getting further and further away from what football should be like from a fan point of view.
100%, Rob. Listen, before we let you go, I know you've got your wee lads football training this evening. I've got to get very quickly your thoughts. Jose Mourinho's axing. We haven't talked on that at all this evening, and we will for the final 15 minutes. Shocked by his departure. Right decision to sack him when he has?
Well, no, I think it's. I mean, let's be honest. They're in a major final next week, so I think the timing is probably a little bit wrong. Again, we understand football is a business, and if the powers that be think that they're not getting the right results, then obviously it's a way that they think well, maybe we need to change our fortunes that way. Whether we agree with it, it doesn't really matter. The decision's been made. I'm a big fan of Jose Mourinho. I really am. At times he does come across as plenty of sour grapes at times, but a lot of time for him. Look, I think it's obviously sad for him. Tottenham will obviously want to progress and go forward. He probably feel as though they've been missing out on that. But it's football, I'm afraid, and that's exactly what owners do. Now, I think if you revert back to what we were talking about before with the ownership of what's happening with this European Super League, that's one of the maybe disappointing facts of that as well. So you've got all the owners of these clubs who are not necessarily run on the foundations of what British football is all about. Obviously you got your American owned, you got your Russian owned. But Tottenham are a club who are British owned, so they, as a club, should understand what fan power is all about. And they are a million miles away from where they should be.
Plenty of talking points for the second season of the podcast, Robbie.
Yeah.
It is, yeah, but I think we'll let someone else talk about it. We just want to get fast players on and fast managers.
Yeah, exactly. The news lines, someone else can deal with them. Yeah. Brilliant stuff. Robbie, thank you so much for sparing a few minutes to chat to us this evening.
Cheers, chaps. Thanks very much.
Oh, man. Cheers, Rob.
Brilliant stuff there, as always, from Robbie Fowler.
He's right. He's absolutely right. We get the big names. That's what we focus in on. Yeah. And it's Rob's contact book is all that is. But, it's interesting listening there. That's a man who, powerful words there. It's a family club, is what he's saying about Liverpool, but they're only a family club when it suits them. That from a Liverpool legend.
But I think there is also a disconnect between the ownership of the club and the individuals who make it a family club.
Yes.
A penny for Jurgen Klopp's thoughts right now as to whether this is a good idea. Old
quotes that he was attributed to from back in 2019.
He's not a fan.
Not a fan.
Of course he's not. So we've been debating this European Super League, which seems like it's an inevitability, but at the same time, I think such has been the vitriol, such has been the strength of the reaction, that I would imagine conversations being had at the very top of the negotiations here to sort of perhaps offer an olive branch to UEFA, or I don't know.
Exactly that.
Are these clubs going to? They won't want to lose face by crawling back from these declarations. But I wonder what's going to happen next.
It's a seismic day because of the fact that they have signalled this is their intent. There are still an awful lot of hurdles to cross, but it's a sad day as things stand. As you've heard over the course of the past 50 minutes, we've heard from Safe, we've heard from Robbie Fowler, that it may well be a posturing, that this may well be just to garner a little bit of extra pocket money off of UEFA. That remains to be seen, but we have to take it at face value, Rob. And at face value, it's 12 clubs going up to 15 that are saying we're done with the way that football is run currently. It's a closed shop cabal, as I keep coming back to, and I, for one, I'm not on board with it at all.
We've heard from Saif Ruby, the football agent, who appears to be okay with the idea of a European Super League. He can understand and he can see the benefits of it. Robbie Fowler, ex-Liverpool legend, certainly wouldn't be happy with the way that football is going. What about a Leeds United fan?
Yeah, well, this is interesting. Eddie Taylor, who's joined us numerous times on this broadcast, a man, you've got to follow this guy on Twitter. He is one of Leeds' genuinely biggest fans. He's a man who's worked in football. He's worked on fanzines, magazines, all of his life. He joins us live on the line now. Edward, good evening to you, my friend.
Good evening. How are you guys?
Yeah, very well, Edward. I do wonder, we've heard from an agent, we've heard from a football player. What about, and we've heard, I'm speaking with a little bit of passion because I am a fan of a club that is involved in this cabal, as I call them. What about a fan whose football club is on the up and up? Everyone who's seen Leeds United this season, Marcelo Bielsa, will know they've been a breath of fresh air for the Premier League. Where does a football fan that follows Leeds United stand on this news today?
Oh, well, we're all incredibly disappointed, I think. I mean, I think when you think of the journey that we've been on, we were out of the Premier League for 16 years. We went down to the third tier of English football, and we've built our way back up. And most importantly, we've built our way back up through the best of footballing principles, which is hard work, excellent tactics, and sort of a club-wide commitment to getting back in the Premier League. We haven't spent our way to get up there. We haven't, dipped into the pockets of an oligarch to get us up there. We've done it through shrewd investment and hard work and the genius that is Marcelo Bielsa. And then the second we do get back up to the top table, we find out that 6 clubs have chopped one of the legs off. I think it's an absolute outrage that they could be so dismissive of British football's histories and traditions, and could be so dismissive of, I think most importantly, the plight of so many clubs up and down England who are struggling amid a pandemic. I think it's appalling, and I think it speaks to the worst instincts of the money that's in the game at the moment.
Yeah, it certainly does. And I suppose the question now, Eddie, is what happens from here? Because, I would imagine the press conferences for the likes of Pep Guardiola and Jurgen Klopp are going to be pretty uncomfortable. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer as well. They are going to be the outward facing they are the face of their clubs as managers of their clubs. It won't be the owners fronting up. And this sense of injustice will only intensify over the coming months. Can they really hold firm, these 12 clubs? And I'm speaking really mainly about the 6 in England, because I think they're going to come under the most scrutiny for this, particularly Arsenal and Tottenham, because let's be honest, I mean, do they even warrant a place at the top table? These are 2 clubs that have never won a European Cup.
I mean, I think what's going to be really interesting, as you say, we still don't know how this is going to work. We don't know how the Premier League is going to react. Apparently, there's a meeting of the 12 clubs tomorrow to see what their response is going to be. Are they going to be part of the English league structure next season? Are they not? What are the punitive measures going to be in place? And I think that when we begin to know more, I guess we'll get a sense of how the personalities in the game, the players and the managers actually feel about this and then start to respond to it. We've already seen Jose Mourinho leave today. There's rumours that was because of his reaction to the Super League. I don't know how true that is. There's rumours that Klopp might be considering his position. And I'm actually interested to find out, with the Euros around the corner, if the Premier League and UEFA come good with their threat of banning these players from international football, are the players going to stand up and make a stand now? Will a Harry Kane stand up and kind of go, this isn't something that I want for me and my career? And I think that's going to be an interesting thing now. And as you say, in the press conferences that are coming, Leeds are playing Liverpool tonight, and I imagine there's going to be nothing to do with football being discussed after the match, however the result goes. All of the questions are going to be about what now? What do the players think about it? What does the manager think about it? And it would be gratifying if some of the most high-profile players in the game go, this isn't why I joined Arsenal. This isn't why I joined Liverpool. I joined to be part of a meritocratic football pyramid in which you get and you achieve your rewards through hard work. I mean, Liverpool spent 30 years for them to win a league title, and now they want to be part of a system whereby there's no penalty for failure. There's no, all of your financial rewards are baked in and are at the expense of any other clubs that might come into the system. Apparently there was a rule that apparently the 3 floating members, if they win the thing, they get less than Barcelona, even if Barcelona don't win a game or something like that. Absolutely antithetical to the point of what competitive sport is all about. And I really, really hope that some of the players and some of the managers stand up and go, if this is the future, I'm out.
I would love to see it, Eddie. You know where I'm going with this. Jurgen Klopp tonight says, I'm done. Before his pre-match interview tonight, just says, if this goes the way it's going, I'm done at this football club. And I would love to see more managers say just that. It will be interesting. And of course, it's a headache that Jurgen doesn't need. He's trying to get Liverpool back into the top 4 for next season's Champions League. And yet, what are the questions?
Which may not exist in a few years.
It's just,
and
it's
again,
insane.
We could be looking at the real prospect tonight that this is the last time Liverpool play at Elland Road. Imagine that. Imagine the history of these two clubs combined. You know, going way back to the 1965 FA Cup final when two emerging teams at that time played in the either side could have won the FA Cup for the first time. Then for the next 10 years, they duelled at the top table, winning championships, winning European trophies, winning FA Cups. Don Revie and Bill Shankly together, phoning each other up after every match on a Saturday night to find out how each other gone. Such was the mutual respect between the two. All three Leeds United League championships have been settled at Anfield. When every time Leeds United have won the second division championship, Liverpool have been champions. Our club's histories are intertwined, and this tonight could be the last time as Liverpool play at Ellen Road, and frankly, it is a disgrace.
But by that, I take it you sort of interpret the Premier League's response to be to kick these clubs out of the Premier League.
I think that most clubs and fans would demand that would be their response.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the Premier League.
I hope it is.
Wow.
The Premier League could say, "Okay, you're doing this. You're not part of this. You're not getting as a phrase. You're not getting your cake and eat it." Essentially,
right?
Yeah, there is a rule in the Premier League to say that you cannot compete in any club competition without the express approval of the Premier League board. They've broken that sanction by forming a new competition that they're playing without the express permission of their league, i.e. the Premier League. So the Premier League needs to sanction them to the fullest authority, and I think that must include removing from the competition.
Eddie, we've run out of time, unfortunately. It's just ticked up to 8 o'clock, so we're going to have to let you go, even though we could chat for a long time into the night, I think it's fair to say, on all things European Super League. But really excited, I suppose, probably the wrong word, interested to see how this story develops over the next few days and weeks, and I'm sure you are as well. I'm sure we'll be catching up with you soon.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, it's an emotional subject, isn't it?
Yeah, it
certainly is. Eddie Taylor there, always very eloquent on the subject of football, and particularly when it comes to Leeds United. That's it from us. We're going to wrap up both on air and on Facebook Live as well. Hope you've enjoyed the conversation over the last hour or so, talking all things European Super League. And I got a funny feeling it might get a mention tomorrow as well, even though you're not going to be with us, Chris.
I've got a feeling that this story is going to run, and we should really just head to a sports bar and talk it all over with listeners. That's what we should be doing, Rob.